never had a chance to talk with the boss, yeah. And for so long I've been living in this old community, yeah, where no one knew my pain, yet I paid the cost. No one knew my pain, Lord, yet I paid the cost. But I would rather to live poor and clean than to live rich in corruption. I said that I've got to live clean. 'Cause Jah, I've got custom in judgment.
Hats off to you for just about, embracing the culture as well. It's very much appreciated. Now, as we talk about, for myself, I went in to get a summarization of the book itself because I haven't had the chance to actually sit down and read. And I am going to, make sure that I purchase, and I would like also to read about it. And I want to keep it, it's an item that I would like here. And also when I'm in Europe, in Belgium as well, that I am going to hit you up because I need your autograph in that book. I need an autograph there. But one of the subjects that came up on the summarization as well is that it's a spiritual novel about reggae and Rastafari. So, why and how did you tie the Rastafari culture, to the title being a spiritual novel itself? What is the takeaway when you talk about the spirituality that's involved within the book itself? Is it within the book itself, or is it within the musical titles or the musical references, or just about everything as it pertains to the book?
Yeah, spirituality is in everything, of course. It's in Jamaica, it's in the music, it's in the songs. Mm-hmm. But it's also, to me, spirituality begins where history ends, I'm kind of an analytical European guy who likes to delve into history and into facts. And to my surprise, a lot of the things that the Rastas talked about and sang about, they were historically very accurate,
yes.
Although most of them, as they told me in the past, they didn't go to the library, or they didn't have the books or whatever, So they were telling stories that were told from orally from way back centuries ago. And when I go and delve into history books, a lot of the things were confirmed. So that was very intriguing to me. And that's a kind of a spirituality it's something that I can't explain. Also, the spirituality, of course, is because the Rastafari movement. Some I know Rasta people like Profi who don't want anything. They don't want anything to do with the Bible. To them, Haile Selassie, His Imperial Majesty, is a divine entity, but it's not because they read the Bible or something. I know Rastas like them too, but most of the Rastas I met in all these years, they were educated with the Bible. They had proverbs from the Bible in their reasonings, whatever, and so it's a very big inspiration for them. And again, there was so many things that fitted better to their story, to the Rastafari story, than to the story as it was told to me when I was young. I'm thinking of an example. For example, Melchizedek.
Mm-hmm.
Melchizedek, this was a guy in our version of the Bible,
Yes.
he's named twice, and on very special occasions. Now, even before, even just after paradise, this guy's supposed to be somewhere in a cave and decided about things, and later on he blessed King David or something like that. But for the rest, there's no explanation about it. But when I go into Rastafari and I come to Ethiopian scripture, suddenly there's plenty of books and Bible fragments that I never know about that talk about Melchizedek and talk about King of Kings and Lord of Lords in a way that was never mentioned in our Bible. And then I went to look for it, and it seems, or I already knew, that our Bible was like composed around 450 after Christ in our time and age. But the Ethiopian scriptures, where they kept everything that was banned here. So I was in Ethiopia, and somebody there in a church presented me with the Gospel of Mary, which doesn't exist in our culture. He presented me with the Gospel of Judas, and these scriptures, these books that he presented me were from the 5th and 5th century. So these were written even before our Bible was written. So that must be nearer to the truth, to the historical truth than our scriptures. That was very special to me to suddenly hear all these stories which we never know about. Huh?
Yes.
Again, this why were we never told that there were I don't know how many books in Europe they have. They have maybe like a dozen Bible books that were banned here and that were cut out and whatever. They were censorships. Huh?
Yes.
Because it didn't fit with our story. But then you go to Ethiopia. Yeah, well, ritual thing that ever happened to me happened in Ethiopia because we visit Aksum, where is the Ark of the Covenant is there in a small church. And according to the Ethiopians, it has been there since the beginning of time, since the Queen of Sheba brought it home, or her son Menelik brought it home from Israel. So according to the Ethiopians, it has always been there and it's been guarded by a special guard who is there for all its life. Mm-hmm. So the first day we were there, it was really amazing. We were totally alone, me and my wife and a guide in Aksum. And suddenly the guide came out of this little chapel where the Ark of the Covenant is supposed to be for all this time. And he just came to greet us. And yeah, it was very strange. For the first time in my life, I couldn't say anything. I couldn't say a word. And my wife, she says to the guy, yeah, this is very special for my husband. So, and he laughed at me and okay. So I already felt very a bit like a chosen one. But then the next morning, the guide said, there will be a procession in town here. And it started 4 o'clock in the morning. So if you want to join it, be there at 3:30 at night and you will, I don't know if you like it. And I said, okay, I'm going to try and do that.
Yes.
At that time, I have a back pain that I never had before. You will probably wonder where is he going, but
yes,
stay put. I had a back pain that I never had before. I walked like an old guy from 100 years old. I could hardly walk. So still in the morning, 3:30, I get up in the morning and I stumbled to the like couple of yards further where the procession started, and the guy was there and he helped me and he gave me a little primitive candlelight, and suddenly I was there with like thousands of people dressed in white. They all have this little candlelight and they are doing a big tour, the procession around the town, or it means around the chapel where the Ark of the Covenant, and they bring out a replica, and so all the people, they went behind it. And yeah, when I was walking there, I was thinking to myself, well, I can't get any closer to the origins of Christianity, of religion than this, because this exactly the same thing happened here 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And certainly when at the end, the priest, he read from the ancient Ge'ez Bible, which is in the ancient language, not the Amharic, but it's like Latin in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And he read a passage from it, and another guy translated it, and everybody was really listening very carefully, all the people. And then suddenly, suddenly, in the meantime, the sun came up, birds started tweeting, and the procession was over, and everybody got home, and I felt really good, and I went home to the hotel where my wife was still sleeping. She didn't feel like coming with me, and I came into the room and said, hi. She said hi, and I said, well, that was amazing. And the first thing she asked me was, and how was your back? And suddenly I realized my back pain was over. So, this was almost like a miracle to me at the time. Eh?
Wow.
So I describe it in the book also, because I spoil it a bit maybe for people, but that really happened to me,
Wow.
And the back pain never came back, by the way. So if you're talking spirituality, there's no explanation for this unless
Except spirituality.
some throwback in time to the origins of our civilization, something like that. I don't know.
Wow. That's a great story. And,
this is because going to Ethiopia was, of course, inspired by the Rasta. So I only came to visit Shashamane later. That's the place where His Majesty gives some land to the people of the Ethiopian World Federation, and a lot of Rastas moved there in the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
But that was not really the highlight of my visit to Ethiopia, because these were difficult circumstances, and there was really not peace and love as I expected it. But there in Aksum, being so close to the roots of spirituality and religion, that was really great. And after all, I must say it was the Rastas who made me go to Ethiopia in the end. I can't say any different.
Wow. So along with the book itself, there is a music as well that's provided via a playlist on Spotify that goes along with it. Talk to me about the music and what persons can expect. Not just the book, but as well their music to go along with it.
Well, during the writing, of course, tunes came up all the time with me, because everything I tell is somewhere in a song. Somewhere in time, it has been sang and written. So it was easy to me to link the tunes to the different chapters.
Yes.
And and I put it on Mixcloud in a mix. And people ask me now about Spotify. I know I'm 63 years old, so Spotify to me is really very new and young. I know that sounds boomer, but it's like that.
Yeah.
But I will take care that you can find the music everywhere. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So you do have a playlist.
And if not, you just listen to my weekly radio show, which is still going on.
Yes.
And there, actually, I only play my favorite reggae tunes from the last century.
Oh, so for your radio show, are you actually interviewing persons, or you're only playing music?
No, I don't do interviews. No, I think there's plenty of interviews on YouTube and everywhere. Sometimes I do little history lessons about some special tunes, like, Sata Masagana, and then I explain what it means, where it comes from, when it was first played, which producer, which musicians, a bit like song history, you might say. That's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So the takeaway from the book itself is that it's an intriguing story, and you picked 3 places as well to highlight as a storyline within Europe, Jamaica, and Ethiopia. It was important for you to include all 3 because?
Of course, Europe is where I grew up. It's where my roots are, of course. So that's the point of view of the whole book. Like, it's from a white Western view on this whole movement and this whole history. That's why I don't claim to write the history of Rastafari. It's my story of Rastafari, how I discovered it and how I experienced it.
Yes.
So and Jamaica, of course, because Jamaica is the main inspiration of everything. And Ethiopia, it had to be there, and it has to end there, because it's from creation. It's where it all begin. And also the Rastas from the start, they say, well, we have to go back to Ethiopia, to Africa. So in the end, when I went to Ethiopia after writing this book, I only went to Shashamane, where I met a lot of Rastas who've been living there for a long time. And then I said to myself, well, you've met the original Rastas in Jamaica. You've met the guys, the families who come to Ethiopia to fulfill their dream, to do what all these singers are singing about, go to Zion, go back to Africa, you know what I mean? So that was like, when I was in Shashamane, it was to make a documentary with a director called My Rastafari Roots, because his grandmother was born on the palace of His Majesty in Ethiopia, a Belgian guy. So that's when we visit Shashamane to do some recordings and to talk to Rastas there too. So when I finish that, I think to myself, well, there's not much more places I can visit when it comes to reggae and Rastafari. That's what I mean. So going back to Jamaica anytime, but for the rest, I think I've seen what I wanted to see.
So within our interview as well, I covered a bit of music that we chose for today. Prediction, Poor and Clean. And of course, as we vibe out to the end of our interview, we will be vibing out with Don Carlos as well. Is Don Carlos one of your favorites?
Yeah, and he's still very popular. I have so many favorites. He's still. I remember when he was a young guy, and I bought most of his records. So an important segment of my record collection is Don Carlos for sure. And you know what is he's still playing live with a full band. People in Europe, we also love sound system, of course. We know where the origins of reggae are. There's a lot of sound system parties. But when you go to a festival, you expect, like, on a big stage. I'm not satisfied when there's just a DJ and a guy on a mixing table. And when I'm in front of a big stage, I like to see a band with horns, really, with horns.
Yes.
Because Jamaicans seems to have forgotten about horns, except for Dean Fraser. He seems to be the only hornsman left alive, and some others. Yeah, the brothers. I met now in Kingston. I met Everton and Everett Gale, and they told me that they've been touring with the Wailers and all type of classic bands. But for the rest, most of the bands, they don't have horns anymore, and I think that's a big mistake, and I miss them dearly. So
I love the horns as well.
Even from the time in the, let's say, this millennium, the 2000s, when you couldn't find a proper band in Jamaica anymore, where are all the great musicians from way back in Jamaica? They've all gone. There's no interest anymore because they can't earn any money. In Jamaica, there's no bands. So what they do is, and very smart of them, they engage a European or an American band, and they play his music, not exactly as a Jamaican sound or the Jamaican bands, but they play it in a really very strong and powerful live fashion that people in Europe and America, they're used to from rock and pop bands. So Don Carlos, he really understands that well, that when you come to Europe or America, you have to offer the people a really strong and powerful show, and that's what he does. And also, he has a lot of great songs, really. You have a lot of DJs and even singers in Jamaica who create great vibes, but their songs are more like flowing. But Don Carlos really have songs with proper choruses, and you can sing along and whatever. So that's why he's still very much loved in Europe. And this song that I proposed to, From Creation, I love the expression from creation, because that is what I think Rastafari, the history of Haile Selassie of Imperial Majesty of Ethiopia, even of myself, because it's from creation, from the creation of my love for reggae music. So this song fits to so many things in my vision of what I want to write about. Don Carlos, great song, originally by Barry Brown, by the way. So
what is your takeaway for the listening audience as it pertains to the book, and actually being able to delve into your Spotify playlist as well? What else that you need to leave our listening audience with?
Well, they won't hear much dancehall music. They won't hear much digital music.
Yes.
And there's a lot of dub because I love dub. I must say the first maybe 10 albums I bought way back were dub albums because that music intrigued me so much. We didn't know anything about it. I wondered how they made it. I was imagining musicians going in and coming out and playing it a bit and going out again, and it was amazing. So you will hear a lot of dub in my music, and of course a lot of roots and culture, talking about Black history, Rastafari, and some of my favorite songs I discover every time and again is that an example, for example, the theme is give thanks for life, give thanks Jah for life, that type of song, because a lot of singers in Jamaica, they are born in poor circumstances, and they don't, you know what I mean, hunger and suffering, and still I was in Jamaica now recently, and again, everywhere you see people, yeah man, it's time tough, but give thanks for life, you know? Time tough, but give thanks for life. That's really what Jamaicans are to me, most people, and I love that attitude. You know, they know that they have a hard time, but still give thanks for life. And I think that's also my position in life in general.
Love it, love it, love it. Where can the listening audience locate you across the social media platforms? I know you say that you do not delve into this too much, but where can they find you on the social media platforms? And as well, the book, what platforms are you?
The book is on Amazon for the time being, because I'm still looking for a distributor in America, or a publisher who wants to get the book on the American market. And the only way it can be on Amazon, because my publisher here in Belgium has a deal that they can print the book on demand. That's how you can buy it on Amazon. Mm-hmm. So for the rest, we hope to get it distributed in a proper way in the near future.
Yes.
And on Instagram, it's easy. It's Jah Shakespeare. Way back, more than 40 years ago, a guy here who used to have a record label in Jamaica and in England. I was studying literature, and at the time everybody had to have a DJ name for the radio show we were producing and making. And he said, "You're Shakespeare because you're studying literature." And at the time, all the DJs, they were like, you had Jah Thomas, Jah Woosh, Jah Stitch. You had all these jazz in Jamaican music. So people, they say, "Well, you're Jah Shakespeare," and that name stick, you know. But here in Europe, people always want to know, yeah, Shakespeare. But when you come to Jamaica, nobody seems to bother. They think it's like you just introduce him. I'm just introduced like that.
Yes.
And people, they accept this name and my personality as I am for this book. So that's really very nice.
Yes, you're in the entertainment business where there are certain tags that attach to you and not necessarily the name you were born with. So, of course, you know, when we talk about what's in a name, Shakespeare, it is, you know, it can be used as an analogy or however else it is that you're used to sell your book as well. But also you have, you know, reggae has been at the forefront since a very young age, between your DJing as a radio personality, writing articles, and of course, you know, being an author right now as well to the book itself. I appreciate you coming through and having this conversation as well as to the listening audience, the takeaway for themselves as well. Where I'm going to dive out with Don Carlos track, and I will be right back to give my outro. Stay with me.
Creation, creation, creation. Creation, creation, creation. From it's you. We were taken from our own land and were brought in captivity and were treated, oh yes, with brutality, brutality from creation. I'm on the Anya. I saw.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you've had an opportunity to listen to Jah Shakespeare. And for persons who may be just joining us right now, and also others who have been listening, wherever it is that you join in today's show as well. And Jah Shakespeare hails out of Belgium, a profession that includes DJing radio veteran for over 40 years, and he is an experienced author as well. Well, the book itself, Rasta Revelation, right, is a spiritual novel about reggae and Rastafari culture. And of course, it has musical references and song titles as well. And the story is set in Europe, US, Jamaica, and Ethiopia. The storyline itself includes various personalities. I haven't read the book in total, and I do plan on getting it. But from the summarization itself, um, there are personalities included, such as Rasfaya, Johan, or as we would say, Johan. Um, it's about a Dutch Rastaman is murdered in Kingston, Jamaica, and his friend Johan tries to solve the mystery in his search to delve deep into the origins of Rastafari. The book includes the history, just to learn about a little bit of history and colonization. And as I've said, it is, song titles and musical references. The Rasta Revelation, I would say, is an exciting novel filled with spirituality and history, and especially for untold stories and various stories that persons may not know about as well. So I encourage persons to go out and check out this book as well. If you are involved in reggae music, from Jamaica, outside of Jamaica, Jamaicans away from home, and just the reggae community altogether, Rastafari as well. Ethiopia is a very strong hold within the book. I encourage you to go out and check it out as well. You have been listening to Music Connect Africa. We are the hub for global music industry news and insights. And each episode, we take a look into the history of our entrepreneurial professionals who are the driving force behind the scenes. It gives me great pleasure to bring to you today, our interview with Jah Shakespeare. We talk about what he brings to the music, arts, and entertainment front as well. Do follow him across social media. You can look out for him, especially on Instagram, Jah Shakespeare. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for hanging out. And if you have any questions, you by all means, you can type your comments below. Thanks for being here.
Creation, creation, creation. From creation, I'm on the Anya. Tribulation, I'm on baby. And I want you to know it's very true.